Have you considered a renovation or a remodel, but also considering moving and want to know the pros and cons of each? Stay tuned. I'm going to tell you. So there are definitely pros and cons to both moving and renovation. I'm going to go through those. Before we get too far along, please subscribe, please like, please comment. It does help my channel, helps others like you get this valuable information, and I put out information on this topic weekly. So please like, subscribe, comment, ring that little notification bell so you're aware of everything that I post. So let's start with maybe renovation first. Let's start with some pros. Number one, cost. Cost is a big consideration. In the scope of a remodel, it can be more cost effective to actually remodel your current home compared to buying a new one, incurring additional costs like real estate fees, closing costs, and moving expenses. So cost is a big consideration for most people. So remodeling pro number two is familiarity. You're already familiar with your home. You're familiar with everything that your area has to offer. Places of worship, shopping, schools, parks, all the things that your neighborhood has to offer. If you're comfortable and you want to stay in your home because of that familiarity, then remodeling is pro number two. So renovation pro number three would be customization. Remodeling a home gives you the opportunity to customize your home exactly how you want the customization to end up, whether it be the kitchen, the bedroom, the bathrooms. A major remodel, the customization that you have allows you to design the exact home that you want, providing most of the home works for you. That would be pro number three. So renovation pro number four would be the investment or the value of your current home. For this, I would honestly work with a licensed realtor, somebody extremely familiar with your area and the values and extremely experienced in a valuation of your home. You want to be careful that you don't want to over improve the property for the area, for the street. Over improvement is not a good thing, but a good investment in your home may end up to be a good financial investment in the current home that you own. So renovation pro final number five, emotional attachment to where you are. Your emotions are your emotions, and you can't get around the feeling that you have about your current home, your current neighborhood. If that emotion is so strong that leads you to the decision of a renovation, along with all the other pros associated with renovation, maybe that's the best choice for you. So the emotional attachment to your current home, final pro number five for renovation. All right, let's talk about remodeling cons, the downside and negative of remodeling your current home. Number one is disruption. Get ready. You are going to live through disruption every day you wake up and all throughout the day when you're doing a renovation. The more major the renovation, the more disruption that you're going to have to live with. Make sure that your personality type is the type that can handle the disruption to your daily living through the remodeling process. That is con number one, big one. So remodel con number two is uncertainty. You never know what can of worms you're going to be opening. I personally did a home renovation. It was starting off to be a very simple addition. It was a closet. What I actually wanted to accomplish was a bedroom adjacent to our master we weren't using. I wanted to just put a nice doorway from one room to the other and make it my wife's closet. A little over the top for a closet, but nonetheless, that's what we wanted to do. Having said that, when they opened the wall, we found a bearing wall and something that would have structurally been prohibitive. So what we actually ended up doing is pushing out the master suite, and a $5,000 to $7,000 project turned into a $35,000 project. At the end of the day, my wife loves her closet, but it was an uncertainty that we didn't anticipate. So uncertainty is one of the variables that goes along with a renovation or a remodel. You never know what's going to happen. It involves time and it involves money, and it can be more than you're going to want to deal with. So that would be con number two for renovation remodel. So renovation and remodel con number three is time. The time constraint that you put on yourself and your family during that remodel is something that is often underestimated. Please make sure that you're allowing more than sufficient time, and the time in which to live through this project is going to be longer than you anticipate. So consider the timing and never rely on a deadline being a hard deadline. Make sure that you have plenty of cushion if you're trying to complete the project by a certain date. Time consideration, con number 3. So remodel and renovation, final number, con 4, would be future needs. Make sure whatever you embark on in terms of a renovation or home remodel is going to fulfill your needs for the long haul, not short term. The reason being is that financially, it doesn't make sense to do any kind of a remodel unless you're adding square footage, because most renovation and remodels will not return your investment positively. You can spend $100,000 on a remodel and renovation, but unless you've added square footage, you typically only get a percentage of that back in terms of increased value of your home. Yes, it will increase the value of your home, but you will not get dollar for dollar. The typical best return on your investments for a remodel would be number 1, kitchen, number 2, bathrooms, and then the list goes down from there. Bathrooms, number 1 would be master, and then all the secondary bathrooms would be the following return on investment. So kitchen 1, master bathroom, secondary bathrooms, and secondary bedrooms as well as in the mix. But you will not get a dollar for dollar return on your investment typically unless you add square footage. So make sure that your remodel is for the future long-term plan and not just for a month or 2 or even a year or 2. It typically does not make financial sense to do a remodel. All right, so let's switch gears and take a look at the pros and cons of moving compared to renovation and remodel. Pro number 1 for moving would be completely fresh, start over. Whether you're moving a city or 2 away, or cross country, or out of the country, you will be in a completely, totally new environment. Hopefully one that you're going to enjoy as much or more than where you're coming from, but everything that you know is going to be fresh and new. That would be pro number 1 for moving, fresh start. All right, moving pro number 2, which is complete new start, structure. We talked about pro number 1 being fresh start in a new area, new from every aspect. Places of worship, school, parks, rivers, lakes, everything is fresh. Well, so can that be for your structure. Let's say the renovation really doesn't get you exactly what you need, whether it's moving up, moving down, moving from a 2-story to a single story, moving from a single story to a 2-story. Maybe the view is something that you really would like, but you don't have in your current home. Maybe you really need a 3-car garage, and a 2-car garage to a 3-car garage with a remodel is not practical. Sometimes a complete new structure, starting fresh with the home itself, is pro number 2, which outweighs the remodeling and renovation when you consider all factors involved. So fresh start environment, pro number 1, fresh start structure and house, pro number 2. So moving, pro number 3 would be avoiding the disruption, which is the counterpart to the disruption having been the negative of the con, if you will, of a renovation or remodel. When you move, yes, there's inconveniencing of packing. There's the inconveniencing of moving, physically moving. You have to then unpack what you packed at your former residence. So there is some disruption, but living through a remodel and everything involved sometimes is greatly outweighed by the fresh start, fresh environment, everything new, and the elimination of living through a remodel, especially if it's a major area of the home, like a kitchen. I was forced to do a kitchen remodel. I had a slab leak. It did over $80,000 in damage to my home. We didn't want to move. We did get compensation in terms of insurance, so it didn't cost me anything. But at the time, would I have considered a move? Possibly. Looking back on what those 8 months were like, it was hell. Kitchen remodels are just torturous to live through. And mine, again, was 8 months. We planned on 4 to 5. It ended up being 8 months. Great contractor, but things you just can't avoid. So The elimination of that disruption in your life is sometimes a big pro to moving, along with the fresh start, fresh house, no disruption other than the packing and the moving itself. So pro number 3 is no disruption, minimal disruption, packing and moving. That's it. So moving pro number 4 would be potential for growth. Typically, this happens with younger families, younger individuals at the early cycle of home ownership, not in the sunset years of home ownership. With older clients of mine, downsizing, remodeling, and renovation is not an option. You don't want to take off the structure just to downsize. Typically, you're going to be selling a more expensive, larger home and downsizing in size and square footage, and possibly moving out of the area to accomplish that. But for younger families, growth potential is a strong consideration for moving. As an example, a young couple buying their first home, maybe a 3 or a 4 bedroom, and now they're pregnant and have their first child on the horizon, but their family ultimate size is hovering around 3 or 4 kids. And to do a remodel to add a bedroom and maybe even 2 won't satisfy their long-term growth, and they want to move into a home that will sustain them for many years to come. The average length of home ownership has grown over the years. It used to be 7, 8 years on average. Now it's double digits for sure. A lot of that has to do with affordability in our area. People just aren't moving as frequently as they have in the past. But you want to consider your long-term growth plans when you're considering a renovation. If it's a temporary, again, it doesn't make financial sense to do it. And why live through it if you're going to be moving eventually in a short amount of time? So future growth is a huge consideration, especially for younger families or younger people planning their first renovation/move consideration. All right, so let's switch to moving cons number 1. First and foremost would be cost. The cost associated with moving is something to consider. Not only the cost of the moving itself, actually transporting, packing, and moving, but the cost of selling your home, involving real estate agent commission, escrow, title fees, some repairs that go along with the sale process. These are things to consider when planning a move. A lot of the things on the negative side of selling appear on the positive side of renovation. And cost, if you remember, was one of the pros of renovation, is that you eliminate the cost of having to sell a home. So con number 1 is the cost. All right, so moving con number 2 is in complete contrast to renovation pro number, whatever it was, which is the emotional attachment or emotional detachment from where you currently live. When you're moving, whether it's a city or 2 away or cross country or out of the country, you are going to have to emotionally detach yourself from your current environment, whether it's the city, whether it's your home, the area, or the actual home itself. There is that emotional attachment that we all have to where we live. Now, sometimes the emotional attachment is a negative one. Maybe you're unhappy with where you currently are. Maybe the neighbors bother you. Maybe the weather bothers you. Maybe the people are unfriendly or not as friendly as where you think you may want to go. Or politics are involved. Today, unfortunately, politics is playing a part into relocation as opposed to renovation. So the emotional attachment you have to the area and your home is possibly a con to moving. Keep that in mind. Con number 2, emotional detachment. And the final thing to consider that could be a con or could be a pro with regards to moving, I'll just discuss it now. It kind of goes along with the financial, and that would be taxation and what financial implications there are with moving that don't really involve the cost of moving, but would be a financial reflection on the move. For this, I always advise my clients to have a discussion and consultation with their financial advisor, especially their CPA or tax preparer. These considerations are very important. A lot of people who are downsizing at this time have to consider financial implications, which would be, for example, capital gains and how that affects you. This is not my job. My job is to help people buy and sell homes and to make sure the navigation through the contract is a smooth one. That's my area of expertise. Negotiating, marketing homes for sale, the contract, if you will. That's my wheelhouse. What is not in my wheelhouse and what I'm actually precluded from discussing with my clients based on our attorney's advice would be all those financial implications. That could be a very significant negative or a con with regards to moving. Please talk to your tax preparer, your financial advisor, and anybody else involved with the finances of moving. Aside from the cost of moving, the commission and the escrow and the title fees, that hard cost along with moving, that's a consideration, but taxation and other financial implications. Maybe you have recently quit your job. Maybe you've been laid off. Maybe there are some financial conditions that greatly impact your decision to move. And it could be a positive and it could be a negative. So that's how I'm going to sum it up. Please subscribe, please like, please comment, ring that notification bell. Randy Orr with Berkshire Hathaway, changing lives one home at a time.